Well, Tanya and I are between trips right now, so it's time for another one of those videos where I just go through some thoughts about traveling, and within another few weeks we're going to be on our way on a 3-month trip, so we'll give you a lot of great information when that starts. But before we get going, one of the things that affects us from time to time and may affect you is if you ever get tired of traveling. Now, Tanya and I, we travel about 8 months out of the year, something like that, 8 to 9 months out of the year. So we're not full-time travelers. We always come back to our home for about a month or so before heading off again. So we don't really get tired of traveling because we break it up. But there are some people that travel a lot, or maybe that don't hardly at all, but get tired of it and need some motivation. So let me ask you a few questions. Do you ever get tired of traveling? Do you ever start to feel like you're on an endless treadmill of sightseeing and going to bucket list destinations, and then as soon as a trip is finished, starting the process all over again? In essence, are you in kind of a travel rut? Hard to imagine, but it could be. Do you ever feel like your travel life is being directed by someone else? Going to places that everyone else says you should go to rather than to places that maybe you might really enjoy, and you might not be totally convinced that some of these must-go places are places you should visit. Well, if you answered yes to any of those, I'm sure you're not alone, and we feel that way ourselves sometimes. So today, I want to give you some ideas on how you might approach travel, especially if you're an older traveler, and so that you can think about it in maybe a little bit different way and make your travels more memorable and meaningful. So with some of these ideas in place, hopefully you'll never get tired of traveling. You might be just tired, but it won't be from traveling. I'm assuming in this discussion that you're a frequent older traveler as opposed to someone who might only take 1 or 2 short trips a year, because then you probably don't get tired of traveling at all. Here are some 8 ideas. Number 1, find a balance. When I say this, I mean a balance between the types of trips that you take, as well as a balance of activities within each trip. So for example, when you go to a bucket list destination, balance out your time seeing the sights with simply being there. Say, for example, you're in Rome, and you just have to see the Colosseum, the Trevi Fountain, the Spanish Steps, St. Peter's Square. Okay, that's fine. Just don't do it all in one day. Kind of balance it out. Or maybe even in 1 week if you have more time. Think about why you're going to one of these must-see destinations and ask yourself, is it to satisfy a deeply held desire? Is it someplace you've just always wanted to go because of something within yourself? Or is it just a place you feel you're supposed to go to because everyone says that's what you're supposed to do, and you can't come back and your friends will say, okay, oh, you've been to Rome. Oh, wasn't the Colosseum great? No, never went to it. You'd be really embarrassed. So I'm not saying don't go to these famous sites. They're famous for a reason and will likely be very memorable for you. But just balance those experiences with other experiences that help you connect with where you are. So sitting on a bench, enjoying a gelato, watching kids playing in a fountain, taking in the sights and smells of the place around you, maybe striking up a conversation with somebody next to you, sitting at an outdoor table enjoying a beer or a glass of wine or a coffee. Think about it that way. Idea number 2, constantly reevaluate what you truly enjoy. This is an area that needs constant attention. For example, after you've gone through the 3rd museum of the day in a destination, ask yourself, did I really enjoy that? Tanya and I ask ourselves that a lot. Was being in a crowd of people with smartphone cameras at the Louvre gawking at the Mona Lisa really worth it? Did that satisfy some, really inner joy or a desire within you or some need? Well, only you can answer those questions yourself. I mean, even with lots of people around it, the Mona Lisa is an amazing painting, and it's probably something you should see at some time. But at the end of each travel day, ask yourself, what was the most enjoyable thing that I experienced today? What spoke to me? What did I get out of that experience? Idea number 3, get up and out early in the morning. Now, this is something I used to do a lot when I was in a new place, but I've gotten lazy about in the last few years. But experiencing a place as it's just waking up can be really great. For example, you can see delivery people bringing the goods for the day, the bakery products, fresh meat, fresh fish, flowers. You can see parents getting their kids off to school and out the door. And most importantly, you get to see a destination before other visitors do. Residents will be kind of surprised to see you there. They don't expect to see foreigners wandering around their neighborhood that early in the morning. But you are much more likely to get a response to your good morning or buenos dias or bonjour greeting in the morning. You'll be an oddity to them, but it can be really memorable. Idea number 4, establish a reasonable pace. Now, this idea is true especially for older travelers. Recognize that world travel is not a sprint, it's a marathon. And you might be obsessed with seeing as much as you can in the years you have left and keep checking off all these boxes on your travel list, as many as you possibly can. But by cramming too many of these things in one day or in one trip can become counterproductive. You can exhaust yourself and not get the enjoyment you really want. And believe me, as the primary trip planner of the two of us, I'm as guilty of this as anyone, planning too much. And then I always have to kind of, okay, this was silly to try and think we would do this, this, and this. Pacing, remember that. Tanya and I also enjoy taking an afternoon nap whenever we can. We find that a nap breaks up the day and leaves us refreshed for whatever we want to tackle in the second half of the day. Doesn't have to be a long one. Set your watch or set a timer, or your phone, so you don't oversleep and then whoops, the day's all gone. But kind of maybe just even a 20-minute, 30-minute nap can really do wonders for you. Idea number 5, recognize the difference between what you enjoy and what your partner enjoys. And boy, is this a big one for traveling couples, no matter what age you are. For example, if you're the partner of the two that loves to hike, explore, or examine old buildings, and your companion has no interest in those things, theirs could be just an example. You need to do some work. If one person just loves museums and the other person can't stand museums, well, you need to talk about that a little bit. Now, presumably, the two of you enjoy much of the same thing, so it isn't an issue. But if your interests truly differ, it's good to discuss these differences and reach some kind of compromise. Perhaps letting your partner do something that they really want to do while you do something else. Here is an example. I have always had in mind that it would be fun to take the minimum 7-day overnight trip from Moscow to Vladivostok on the Trans-Siberian Railway. Tanya has no interest in this endurance test. While traveling across Russia is probably not the smartest thing to do right now, we both know that when it makes more sense, I probably will be taking this adventure alone. Okay, here's another one. Tanya and I are both entitled to fly space available on U.S. military aircraft. Flying Space A can be a very unpredictable process. Sometimes you don't really know where you're going. Well, you'll know where you're going if you get on the plane, but it goes to places that may not be the most convenient in the world, and a lot of times it's not the most comfortable experience. Riding in a cold C-17 in sling seats for several hours is sounds really fun to me, and we have done it before, but for Tanya, not so much. So although we have both done this before, this is probably something that in the future I will be doing by myself. Never do it very often, so not a big problem. Idea number 6. Create a sense of purpose in your travels. So this is a great way to stay motivated so you don't lose motivation in travel. Before you're going to a destination, think about what you really want to experience there and then seek those experiences out once you get there. So one example can be food. I mean, that's just perfect. Think of yourself as an Anthony Bourdain, ready to dive into whatever challenges before you and look at the food that makes the destination you're going to unique. And it's a wonderful way to connect with local people, trying out some of their food and their drink. It's just a great way to do that. So, that's one way to concentrate your travel just on that item. Maybe your purpose of going someplace is a little bit more esoteric. If you're a linguist, you might center your trip on the language of the place you're going to and how it relates to other languages that you may be familiar with. How is their pronunciation and lexicon different from other languages that you may be familiar with that may be somewhat similar? Or make all these different connections of like, oh yes, that word. Well, I've seen that word in French, and that must probably means this or something like that. I don't know. To me, that is endlessly fascinating. Tanya, not so much. But again, it's compromise. Maybe wildlife or urban photography interests you. That could be a perfect purpose for your trip. Every place has its own beer, and usually they are intensely proud of the beer that is brewed in a particular area. So enjoy that, indulge yourself in that, and what better way to connect with other people than over a brew? There are many other personal interests that you can use as a motivation for your travel and to make it more fun. Idea 7, mix up the types of travel. So I'm thinking about categories of travel like adventure travel, cruises, slow travel, fast travel, passive versus active, organized travel versus independent. The point is to travel in a way perhaps that you've never done before. You may think, okay, I went on a cruise once and I didn't like it. And I did it 40 years ago and I never want to do that again. Well, those cruises have changed, and maybe that's something you should do again. Or I can't stand anybody organizing a trip and telling me where I should go and making sure that I have to be down in the lobby at 8 o'clock with my bags and not having any control over things. I like to do things myself. Well, okay. Or the other way around. Whatever it is, mix it up a little bit. Try something a little bit different. Get out of your comfort zone. Idea 8. Go to a place that you never thought you'd enjoy. Now that's really a challenge. We've all been to places that we thought we would enjoy and then didn't. Well, let's just flip that around. Let's think of places that we can't imagine that we could possibly enjoy them, but go there anyway and see what happens. How about Uzbekistan? Well, incredible history and architecture. Korea, fascinating people and terrific food. Paraguay. Who goes to Paraguay? Well, why not try it and see something different? Tanya and I have found that virtually every destination has something in it that keeps us motivated and wants us to find out more. Keep an open mind and take advantage of the incredible fortune that we as travelers have to be able to do this thing and to explore these things. So these are just a few ideas that you might use in trying to keep your travel exciting, keep you motivated in continuing this travel journey as you finish out your travel life. Well, I say finish it out. I mean, hopefully it's another 20, 25 year process. But I hope that these ideas keep you motivated and help you keep travel exciting for you. So please leave a comment below if there are other ideas that you have used or that you think of to keep travel fun and exciting. So until then, we'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe.